Right, so you're very welcome to the podcast today. My name is Patrick Brien, founder of Truth's Healing Services. With me I have Mark Tynan. A lot of you might know Mark for his DJing, and he's a well-established life coach. And Mark would have went through the vibes theory that I do, which is the vibes healing process. And he's decided to come on today to discuss his journey through the vibes process and a bit about his life prior to coming and doing the vibes process. So you're very welcome, Mark.
Thanks very much for having me.
What's the story?
I'm excited. I'm excited. My first ever podcast.
Is it?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah. I've always wanted to be on a podcast, so it's nice that you're having me.
Lovely stuff. Well, you're very welcome. So just, do you want to give the listeners just a brief history about your background? So just say, starting off then with say childhood, and say you would have grown up then in a single parent house, moving through your teenage years then, and say your career, what you're doing now, and
Okay. It's a long story, isn't it?
yeah.
For over 40 years of going back to, I remember being in Coolock near Northside Shopping Centre. That was maybe my earliest times with my ma. So yeah, my ma was a single mother. My dad lived across the road in Kilmore. So they would have had me, I think my ma was 18 or 19 when she had me.
Right.
So they were fairly young when I was born. And there was these masonettes that they called. So I had small little memories of friends.
Jeez, Masonettes, I grew up in Masonettes.
That's right, yeah. So then my nanny was across over, was where my dad was from. My ma would drop me over to my nanny and to meet my dad over there. But that was back in the 80s. So there would have been a recession then. There wasn't a lot of work on.
80s, yeah.
So a lot of people would have went to England for work, including my dad.
Right.
So when he was going over to England to work, he'd come back sometimes. I then wasn't seeing my father. I was getting older. My mum met a new fella. He became my stepdad. They got married, moved out to Blanchardstown then. I was around 8 years of age.
Right.
So there was a disconnection from that side of the family, my dad's side of the family. I was seeing them every now and then, but it just dissolved, I suppose, you know.
Okay.
But I will talk as I get to around 17 or 18, where I actually went back and I went to find me dad.
Okay.
So I'm out in Blanchardstown. That's where where I'm from really, because I don't really remember Coolock that much.
Right.
You know, I remember I had a few friends in the Masonettes and stuff like that. But it was a 1-bedroom flat. Like I was staying in a bedroom with my mum, you know.
Right.
My mum was working down in Cadbury's actually making the chocolate, and she used to have to sneak out to go to work, or she'd have to drop me down to my nanny's when she was trying to get money to go to work. But I remember being a crybaby because she was all I had.
Right.
So
Terrified she wouldn't come back.
absolutely terrified. So they'd nearly go, Mark, look over here, and my mum would sneak out the door, you know.
Right.
And I'd be fucking so upset. And to mention that I was born with eczema,
Right.
like psoriasis.
Yeah.
And so then at night time we'd be scratching all the time. And it was only another shaman that actually said to me, that's down to missing your mum. That's, you know, so
Yeah, directly linked.
it was directly linked. So I had really bad skin, and you know, when I was going to school as a kid, I could have sores on my face, sores on my hands, and bandages on my hands because to be bleeding,
Right.
back in my legs, everything. Really bad eczema, and my mum was bringing me to the hospital, to the doctor, just giving me creams and stuff like that. But it's only then when I got older and I went to the gym and became a bit more relaxed, that left me, and you become more healthier, and you become a bit more healed with your mum as well, which I'll get to. So being out in Blanchardstown, that's I suppose where, you know, I've met a lot of friends out there, and that's when I started getting into the DJing.
Right.
And that's when I knew this is my passion. I love mixing music.
Right.
This is great up in the bedroom. Whereas most of my mates were going football training, I was up in the bedroom,
Up on the decks.
and I was lost. And when you learn what being present is, DJing is where I get lost and be present.
Brilliant.
And I'm mixing music, and I just loved it, you know. And I always wanted to be on the radio and all. That's why I was with the podcast, being on the podcast. This is great because I always wanted to. I was on radio stations before, because you're playing music for people. They're, that's a good song, do you remember that? And then to be able to do someone's party is amazing, because they're choosing you of all DJs.
Yeah.
And it's a journey to go bring them back to when they were younger, playing 80s song, playing 90s song, playing something that's out today.
Create nostalgia.
So, yeah, I love DJing. absolutely love it. So then I moved from Blanchardstown then to me ma breaking up with me stepdad.
Okay.
I was around 16. I was doing my leaving cert.
How long were they with each other before the breakup?
Well, they must have been out together over 10 years. I'm very bad at years and times like that.
Oh, yeah.
But together for a long time. So once we moved down to the country, a little place called Kilmellan in County Westmeath, I had to stay up in Blanchardstown to do my leaving cert.
Right.
Because I wasn't changing skills in me last year.
Yeah.
But that's when I became a little bit wild because I had no parents around. I'm sleeping with my mates. I'm sleeping from here to here on my mate's floor, sharing fucking beds because I'm doing my leaving cert. I'm not going out of the country because I've no friends down there.
Yeah.
I'm not moving again. But you only realise later on in life how this affects you from moving.
Right. And did you not find that you were missing your mother at that age? That way your mother moved down there?
I was probably rebelling, and I think my mum was going through a breakup. I was missing her, but I think she was going through her own transition of leaving my stepdad. And I had a little brother then as well, so I was an only child until I was 16.
Right.
So then I have a brother, and he, my ma had to go leave him, and she had she met another fella, so she had to go get settled. She had to find somewhere to live before she could take us on.
Yeah.
But eventually, I just wouldn't adapt down to the country. I just couldn't do it. So I'd have been drinking and dabbling in drugs, and I had no responsibilities.
Yeah.
I got a little job over the Blanchardstown Centre, and I was still doing the leaving cert. And then once I finished the leaving cert then, and I went down to my stepdad, I still go down to see him because he was still there for me no matter what.
Yeah.
And my mum was, as I said, she was finding somewhere to live. I'd go visit her as well.
So have a relationship with him now? Your stepfather?
My stepfather, yeah, we do. We can be on and off. We can be on and off at times. It can be a little bit distant, but we're still okay. We only became closer in the past while actually. In the past few years, I think he's had to do his own little.
I think that's amazing. The fact that he was a stepfather, and the fact that relationship went on, and fair play to both of you. It's brilliant.
I took his name. He adopted me.
Oh, is
so
it?
So I'm a Tynan because of him.
Right.
So I called him Dad. He was my father. And then, when he bought me my first car, he bought me first set of decks. So I'm very grateful for it. So he still is my dad no matter what. And then when he got me my first car after my leaving cert, and he got me apprenticeship plumbing as well, because he says, listen, when you finish your leaving cert, there's an apprenticeship plumbing there for you. Brilliant. Straight away. So I went straight into it. No summer break into doing that. He got me a little car. But when I was going up and down to the country and staying on people's floors and doing whatever, I was a little bit lost looking back now. I went to meet my real dad because I had a car, and I went out to Kilmore. Right. And I went, my dad lives out here somewhere. And I knocked on the door, and my nanny answered, and she recognised me and says, I'll ring your dad now. I don't know where my dad was. He could have been anywhere in the world. He did write to me a few times when I was younger, but I don't know if he got the new address then. No. So I heard he was in Australia and everything. He went around the place, but when I did go to find him, he says, I couldn't come near you because there was barren orders and everything. Your man wanted you to have a fresh start. So when I went to meet me real dad, Eddie was his name, I loved him. And the reason I say I loved him was because he passed away. Right. He passed away at 45. So I got to know him. I got to live with him. He says, move in here, you don't need to go down the country all the time. If you want to move with me, get to know me. And it's lovely, yeah, grand. He was renting a house out in Darndale with his friend, and there was another bedroom there. Right. So we all had a bedroom each. We're all 3 lads. Yeah. And still doing the apprenticeship and going around the place. And I met my ex-wife. So we eventually had 3 kids, got married, had the mortgage. And then on just after me honeymoon, is when my actual dad died. Oh. So I was still getting to know him. Right. He got married as well. I was there at his wedding. He had a girl's wife, a sister as well. Oh, brilliant. So it was a crazy journey looking back. Yeah. Families are bleeding mad, aren't they?
And at what stage then? So you've been in your spiritual journey for a while, haven't you? Or your spiritual path?
I reckon when I was in the marriage and we were together for probably over 12 years with 3 kids and get the mortgage, and then we broke up. Okay. And then when we broke up, I was lost again. I was like that 6-year-old where my mum was gone. Because my ex-wife was paying the bills, she was doing everything for me, she was cooking. I went, oh fuck, Now here I'm in an apartment, but the one rule I always said was, because my dad was gone, remember, I'm going to see those kids. I'm seeing those kids half, and that has never changed. Always seeing the kids half. I wanted to make sure that I was in my father. I was making sure I was in my kid's life. I wanted to be a good father. So I did that, and I was drinking. Back down dabbling again. You know, fucking back doing the drugs again.
What kind of drugs was your thing?
It was more coke. It's not like when you see it with DJing now, or you're going out, you're seeing it's normal. You know, we're going out to the pub, get the bag. Let's get a bag. So for me, sometimes I was doing that. I wouldn't say like it was more if you're out. And someone says, "Do you want to be?" I go, yeah. Like it's not like I need to go to NAA or AA. I was just on this lost journey. I haven't got the kids the weekend. I haven't got the kids tonight. Let's fucking, let's just party. You know, I had no responsibilities until I had the kids. And then when I had the kids, I was fucking dying and I wasn't myself. So I said, I had to fucking stop this. So one day I just woke up and I said, I'm not drinking anymore. That was it. Just this is not for me. So I think that's when the spiritual journey starts. So then when you're not drinking after several years, like it must be 10 years now that I'm off it. But I can't say, so I'm really bad at years. When I start going, right, well now that you don't drink, and I start getting into the gym then, you know, so your physical appearance then start changing. You know, and then I went into the whole mental, well, how can I develop my brain better? So I was still life coaching then. So I was in college now. I remember studying for life coaching while I was still in the marriage. So I was studying for that. And then when I was back then, you know, living by myself then, I was looking for clients. And I was getting clients through Zoom and then COVID happened. And it was, I started going, you're being a hypocrite. Like, you have to be working on yourself constantly. You can't just go, I'm a life coach, come to me. You have to keep developing. So I actually started doing Cambo. And when I started doing the Cambo led to the mushroom journeys, to the ayahuasca journey. And I just, when you start doing all those journeys, it allowed me to say that there's something more than what meets the eye. It's not just the physical body, you know what I mean? There's more. And I loved it. I love because now there's more to. There's more to life. There's more to life. There's something to live for, and it's allowed me to be more positive today.
Well, fair play to you. And so when you came to see me then, right? And this is actually that would happen quite a lot. And actually, I think the only other person I probably ever said this to was the actual other life coach I think I've seen before. And when he came in, he was telling me he was having to do all the work himself. And he was saying, I worked on all my grief and I worked on the abandoning of my parents, and he gave me this big list of things, you know, and he was going on for about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour from saying, resolve this and resolve this and resolve this, all the way up. And the only thing I could say to him was, well, what are you doing here? So and this is what people, like, so the thing is, if you resolve all your stuff, well, why are you here? But the thing about it is, it's just, the similarity there was the life coach. But, so say when you came here then, there obviously would have been something happening in your life in that moment that would have actually pushed you to make the decision then to come to see. Because usually shamanic healings, first of all, it's not well known. And normally people that have heard of it don't know what it's about or what it is. And people that kind of do know about it are afraid of it. And because it's kind of like this kind of spiritual voodoo kind of thing, we don't understand what spirituality is, but they think it's to do with religion and what do you think, it's black magic, all kinds of mad scenario, kind of thought process around it is usually kind of mad. But in order for you to do shamanic healing, it's usually a last resort. It's usually kind of like, well, I've tried everything else, and it's not that this hasn't worked or that hasn't worked. Obviously, you get certain things from certain kind of modalities that you would use. So life coaching is even one of them. Then you have talk therapy, you have psychiatry, everything, counselling. Like, you'll get something from all of them, but usually you've gone through a few of them, and then you get to a certain stage, it's kind of like, well, I'll try something else. So what was it that you would have experienced then, where you were saying to yourself, well, I need to... You're right there, because with the life coaching, I knew that I had to keep working on myself. I didn't know what I wanted to do. What development I wanted to do, because I became stuck for a while. And that's why I think I went down the medicine journey. But then a fella in the gym says to me, I'm at the bleeding crashing my car.
And I went to see a bloke, he's from Ballymun, you know, and he says, I fucking crashed my car, but I have a mate that does Reiki. I says, what, I try that, Reiki. And he happens to be your cousin, Dave, Reiki Dev. So he says, give us his number. So Reiki Dave comes out to the gaff, does bleeding Reiki on me, and I went, that was bleeding mad. That's like he left my body. First time doing Reiki, and I loved it. I went, right, okay, so there is something more spiritual out there, you know, there is. So I was seeing him probably once a month or whatever, you know, and then I was still doing the mushroom journeys as well, because that allowed me to have different perceptions. It allowed me to drop into my heart, actually. That's what the mushroom journeys did. But not, I was always make sure I have a shaman there. There was never a kind of just taking them and going to the pub around. I remember I gave up the drink and the drugs, so I'm a good few years off all of that. I knew I wasn't going down recreational. And in this process, I was with a girl, and she wanted kids and she wanted marriage, but I didn't want all of that because I had the marriage and I had the kids. Okay. So once we broke up, then I was then going, right, what now? You know, what do you do now? Okay. And then I met the girl that I'm with now, and I always thought it was grand because I was doing my retreats and I was doing my Reiki. Yeah. Right. And as you said, with the little life coach that you were seeing, why come to me if you think you're all right? I did think it was okay until this new girl says to me, I think there's something there with you that needs to be healed. And I went, I'm all right, I look after myself, you know what I mean? You know, I go see a life coach every now and then myself, I do talk therapy. And she goes, no, there's a bit of inner child stuff, she said there. She did do some inner child stuff before, so she would have had experience. And she goes, and then there's obviously you have to be in a relationship for a long time. And then before that, you're in a marriage before. So there's a lot of healing that needs to be done there. And I went, fucking hell, right, okay. I'll look up. Did a Reiki session with Dave again. I talked to him about it. He says, yeah, my cousin Patrick, just like yourself, he does this stuff. He's fucking amazing. He does this thing. So I looked at your website, your Instagram, and it says it's 10 sessions. I don't know. I'm not very good at committing to things for 10 weeks. You know what I mean? And what's this about? It's just a bleeding money racket, you know? But then Amanda, who was with me, says, this is the good investment. It's see it as yourself. It's like a course. This is what I've been looking for these couple of years in development. So I seen this as a course that you were going to teach me about me. Right. And I tell you, bleeding did. There was tears. But it's not just through the sessions. It's where the work happens. It's afterwards. Isn't it? Yes. Like there was a time where Amanda was away on holidays, and I think I was on my mother's session, and I was crying. I didn't know what I was crying for, and I don't know if I missed her. I didn't want her. Go away. I don't want you. I know what's going on. So there's it just comes out of you, oozes out of you.
It does, doesn't it?
Your emotions.
Yeah.
But now that I understand how it works, my vibration is higher, which means my life is better. And sometimes we think we're in a good headspace, but then you realise with the healing, it's not just your head that needs work. It's not just your body that needs work. It's your spiritual body. It's your energetic body. It's your astral body.
Oh man, fair play. And so obviously you went through 10 sessions then, yeah? And as you know yourself, like, so when you're getting the work done on the bed, so obviously we had a chat beforehand, you know yourself, but when we're doing the work on the bed then, the way, like whatever you experience on the bed, it's the 7-day process when you leave here. And then that's obviously then where you're going through the emotions and all kind of stuff, and because so much is happening within that space. That's why obviously this is a 7-day process between each session.
Yeah.
Is there any of those between, like, just throw it there real quick, so like 10 sessions will be sexual transference, your abusive relationships, bullying, grief, fear, judgment, and guilt and shame. Then you have your father's trauma and his karma, mother's trauma, mother's karma, and then you have soul retrieval. And usually there's a 10 session there then that would not be falling between any of those 10 for an isolated trauma. But do you think that, or can you pinpoint through your own journey, would there have been any one of those 10 sessions that would have had the biggest impact on you?
I can't pinpoint one, but the foursome, the relationship one, because I was in a relationship before, I needed that healing, because I was in a marriage before, and you think you let it go, but there's other things that you have to really let go. Right. And that's what you allowed me to do, so that stuck out. The father, because my father passed away suddenly, and I was only getting to know him as well. Right. He only came into my life at a later stage in my life, built a relationship with him, then he's bleeding gone, you know. Yeah. So I had to let that go as well. And I think I remember being lying on the bed, and I think you seeing, or we seeing an old man or something like that, and that could have been him, because he would be older now, because he died good several years ago, and he did have a beard and stuff like that. So I went, gee, that was him. And now I sometimes have conversations with him. It's like I'm trying to make him proud as well.
Right.
I would never thought of it like that. So that stood out to me. My mother's session stood out to me because as much as I longed for when she was gone, but then when you get older, you nearly look down and go, you should have been there for me a lot more. So there's mixed emotions between, I love you, but I don't like you, and you could have done better, but she couldn't have done better because she was young, and all these things. So there was a lot of mixed emotions there, because we do still have a good relationship, but sometimes you want more from your mother.
Yeah.
And my mother's still alive now, but you allowed me to detach that like a cord.
Yeah.
So that session detached away, and now I'm able to just love me mom without
anything attached to it.
anything attached, without any attachments.
Yeah.
Unconditional. That's the unconditional
Of course,
stuff.
yeah.
And then the last session, reconnecting with the soul. I've turned into another child now. I've turned into like Mark that. I never sang. I never go around singing around like that. Like humming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you sing an old song. But I can't stop singing, and I can't stop cracking jokes.
Right.
I'm like a bold child sometimes. a good, like, no.
An expressive child.
Expressive child. And that happened at the last session. So they're the ones that stuck out to me.
Brilliant. That's class. So now when we were doing the sessions with you then, so say for instance, because obviously now you've gone through them all right, and now you can look back into them all right.
Yeah.
So say for instance, right, when we were talking to you about karmic interference, because I think I remember telling you about that, or as we were talking about that outside of the session, but I think when you started to put that into effect, first of all, did you find it hard to put that into effect because of empathy, and then when did the kind of penny drop where you're saying to yourself, we need to live by this kind of, it's not a rule, but live by, it's a universal law, but live by these standards, or morally not engage in that when I know it shouldn't be because it's going to affect me. So say the first part of that thing would have been like, did you find it hard to implement it?
For me, I felt like there was an invisible force stopping me from intervening in something.
Right.
That's what I felt. So I witnessed two people having an argument, and usually, it's not I want to go over and hit anyone. I want to go over and find out what's going on here.
Right.
Two women are starting to shout at each other. Are you all right? You all right? But something said, don't. I'll walk by it. Just like it was invisible.
Right.
They go, hey, you all right? That's all the shouting's going on. And I'm just going invisible, walking by, did my business, and walked back. And walked away. And, you know, Amanda seen that and goes, why didn't you intervene there? Like, two women are shouting at you, and I went, that's nothing got to do with me.
Oh, man.
So that's when I knew karma interference. I don't know what was happening to me, but I knew if I interfered, someone was going to be shouting at me.
Yeah.
Because I would have been taking someone's side probably.
Yeah.
So when that hit me straight away, then I knew now not to interfere. I'm going to question if I want to help somebody. I'm going, have they asked you?
Very
You
good.
know, have they asked me? Have they asked you help? Are you interfering here?
Yeah.
So it's a big one. I'm practicing it every day.
And that's the thing, because most people, I know people have past traumas, right, and they're constantly stuck in these loops, right, but by engaging in karmic interference, as in, obviously you know what that is it's not minding our own business, and it's interfering in other people's paths. How we're creating karma on a daily basis for ourselves, and sometimes on an hourly basis for ourselves, because we're constantly intervening or butting into people's business, and like even another thing, say that would be karmic interferences as well. Giving advice when it's not asked for.
Yeah.
Don't we? Yeah. Because we don't realise what we're doing this, because obviously not ourselves, so when you're so obviously you want to help somebody, especially when you've gone through all this stuff yourself, you understand it down like to a T, don't we? Yeah. And someone's sitting there and saying, I have this issue or this issue, and the first thing is, well, the answer for that, so this is a story, and we're trying to guide down the best way you can, and then we get karma for that. But if the person turns and says to us, or you can ask them, would you like my opinion?
Yes.
Or they can ask you for your opinion, but we throw it in there. The reason why we get karmic interference for that is because the answers for everybody lies within, as you know. All of our answers lie within. No one else has the answers for us. And even though it might sound similar to an answer that we would have, or the answer to their problem could be something similar to an answer to our problem we would have in relation to what they're experiencing. But the way they get the information intuitively will be, they get it differently. Not said the way we say it, so therefore then when they're getting the information, they're getting it on a low vibration, which means that we're speaking from a higher vibration, or that space, they haven't a clue what the hell we're talking about, and we actually make them more confused in themselves, and then when they're trying to resolve it, then we've actually created an issue rather than trying to resolve an issue. So yeah, so karmic interference, I think actually that's why at the very start of the sessions, that's one of the very first things that I teach people about, or not teach people about, but to make people aware of it, like it's not something I came up with, it's something I discovered, and then And then something else I wanted to let you know about was non-judgmental observation.
Okay.
What did you think of that?
Give us an example. Yeah.
So say for instance, non-judgmental observation would be when you're going through your session 3 and you're trying to keep yourself by not currently interfering.
Yes.
So then say for instance, say the two women.
Yeah.
So the two women are arguing.
Yeah.
And because you're not currently interfering anymore, then right, it means you're not judging them.
Yeah.
But you're just observing.
Yeah.
So it's non-judgmental observation. So you're just walking around,
Yes.
not judging anybody,
Yeah.
and observing everything.
Yeah.
Right? Which means then that when we don't, so we're not in the judgmental headspace. What tends to happen then is, right, we're not operating from the mind anymore, which means you start operating from consciousness. So we're consciously just observing what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's how all our learning comes in. By just looking at the world from that perspective, realising that you don't have to get involved in that. And usually if there is something kicking out in front of us and we are triggered by it, the trigger part usually means that there's something going on here that's obviously mirroring something that's going on with you. But it's not for us to get involved in it or to get annoyed by it. It's as you know yourself, like emotions are their spiritual guidance system.
Yeah.
So it's just to make you aware of there's something in this that's affecting you. So basically all I'm doing is I'm highlighting it for you in order for you to kind of go away and reflect on it, rather than getting involved in it. So right?
I think with it's like our trauma allows us to bring all these feelings. So when we observe, is that what feelings is bringing for you? And now I believe my trauma is it's gone.
Yeah.
So I don't have any feelings attached. So when I'm observing, it's like just watching a show. You know, you're not going, here, you should be doing this, because you can't talk. You're in the audience.
Yeah.
You can't interfere. So there's no feelings.
Yeah.
In a real life scenario, some people want to intervene, but you go, why? What gives you the urge to intervene? So that's what's happening with me. I don't have the urge to intervene because I don't have any feelings towards other people's situations. That's there.
That's a great way of saying it, actually, yeah. And putting it like that then, right? So somebody that's listening then might be turning and saying, like, why don't you get the feelings to do anything? Why don't you want to engage anymore? And you're saying like your trauma's gone because so obviously trauma is an energy, it's an emotion. So that energy that's in there, as soon as we see something that resembles anything from our past traumas or from negative experiences, it's recall. So no way if we're going through your 10 sessions, we do recall. So recall calls the energy forward, and also like energy is energy. It can either drive you, if you want to say positively or negatively, but it'll make you act or react to certain situations. But when the trauma's gone, there's absolutely no drive to engage in something. But where you're just observing it, literally from a subjective point of view, where we're not being affected by it anymore. And actually, a good example of that for people is that, especially with parents, how, actually I think we were podcasting the other day about this, it's when we go to a parent or visit a parent, and this we obviously something that's in trauma, don't we? And as you know, through your sessions as well, is that most of our trauma, or the trauma that impacts us the most, will be stuff in relation to our mothers. Even as opposed to an abusive father, there's a connection that we all have, males and females, in relation with the mother. That if the mother does animals and she's emotionally absent or whatever the case may be, we're hugely affected by mother stuff. All of us are. So just say for instance then there's if we go to visit our parents and we're having this bickering going on, or the jury people are saying, sure, listen, you're like a mirror image of your mother, or the two of you just clash because you think the exact same.
Yes, I remember listening to this podcast.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
I did listen. Yeah.
That kind of stuff, like. But when and obviously the thing about it is, right, is that when you're going there in trauma, you're still looking for that love and that unconditional love often, and the approval and the validation. And we're looking for that constantly often while we're in trauma. But then when you resolve the trauma stuff and you're within that space, there's no more around, the drama stops. And especially when you do a karmic comeback, and because when you do karmic comeback, what ends up happening is you're not mirroring your parent anymore. So they're seeing for the very first time who you actually are, as opposed to looking at another version of themselves, looking at the parts of themselves that they don't like, and they're literally arguing with yourself. So in the trauma state, but then when that's all gone, then they can literally see you for the first time in the absence of all that, and you can just be present in yourself. And then you realise, obviously, you know yourself then as well, going through the thing, the only person that can give us unconditional love is us. Our parents could never give it to us, then they'll never be able to give it to us, because they would never be able to, like, they could never attain it for themselves, which is very sad when you think about it, you know what I mean? So you imagine your own mother and father, and then not having that unconditional love from their parents, and then the two of them splitting away then, and then like, must have been they must have like emotionally struggled through those situations, you know what I mean? And then they carry that forward in life and then not get the opportunity. Like we're very lucky in a way that this kind of stuff is out there.
Yeah.
You know,
We found this.
yeah.
They're just very unaware. They're not too sure. You know, everyone is on this journey, and we're all winging it.
Yes.
Right, and we just don't know what way it's going to go. But yeah, I feel very grateful that I'm on this because now I can able to work on me. But some people would be happy to be just working to make money or working to pay the bills. Whereas I see I'm the full-time job. I need to be looking after me, and everything else comes second then. Because then when you're in a great space, then everything else will become better then.
Yes.
So yeah, they just didn't know. It's like the analogy that I heard that there's different frequencies, different radio stations.
Yeah.
And some people are on different radio stations.
Yes.
And if you're on this frequency and you're enjoying this frequency and your life is going great and you're brilliant, if you're noticing things are always going wrong for you all the time, you're going, why does things always go wrong? I do something for everybody and relationships are ending, jobs are ending. You're on the wrong frequency.
Yeah.
You need to higher your frequency, and the way to do that is through healing and getting rid of trauma.
Good man, very, very well said. Exactly, yeah. When you're raising those vibrations and those frequencies, you're obviously going to align to better things. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about trauma, when we're in trauma, and you know it yourself, you just align to everything that's on that frequency. And people just think it's bad luck, and then that's just life. Well, it is life when you're operating that frequency, but you decide to rid yourself of the traumatic energy, say, which is on a low vibration. Get rid of that, and the more and more you get rid of that, the more and more you rise, the more and more you become conscious. And so you're ascending, and the thing is, the higher the vibration you can get onto, and where you attain unconditional love and like the height of self-worth for yourself, you know, and the height of self-respect for yourself, and all those great things. When you're operating on that frequency, is when all these good things start coming into your life, and you start like living as opposed to existing in trauma. You know, like you actually have an opportunity then to enjoy life and be vulnerable yourself, because you're not experiencing life if you're in an defensive state through trauma. But when you come out of it and you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable, like you go around singing and like that uncontrolled child, say, right, or the bald child, having the crack and singing and just like having that without trying, that vulnerability, like experiencing life from that point of view is amazing. Right? And then the people that end up in your life then when you're like that as well, that you align to, which is very few, as you know.
Yes.
But your partner as well has jumped on board and.
Yeah, she's nearly finished. I think she's on her 7th session, and I can see the development of her. It's great when you see, because first of all, you think it's a miracle, right? Your trauma can't be healed. All these myths that you hear, you're stuck with your trauma. How can you do? But I'm an example of it because I'm living my life. I don't care what anyone else says. But then when you see your partner and the shift that how she's dealing with people and how she's able to disconnect with stuff that's happening in her life, then I have a few friends that have done this as well. And I'm seeing them, so you stay from the week one, they're going, we don't really know if this works, or, and then you see them, people go, I feel so much lighter, I feel stoned, I feel great, all of these different feelings that they feel, and their life becomes better. Before you know it, they're getting brand new houses, they're getting, new relationships, whatever's going on, the money starts flowing in, and all because we were at a lower vibration, a lower frequency. So when you hire that, I know I keep saying, I'm not saying it already, but it works.
Yeah. And it's mad actually, because actually this is the thing, actually we sent me a separate chat about this, never agreed from saying like how do you get the message across to people that this works, and the thing about it is, and it's something that I'd be big into now, right? Now I wouldn't be caught up in it, but I'd be big into it. And it's the way scientists look at things, right? Where like unless it's measurable, like you can observe things, right, and then obviously you can measure things and all kinds of stuff, right, in order to prove that things actually exist, right?
Yeah.
Like they have to be kind of tested and put in some sort of way.
Yes.
But the thing about this is that, like, obviously, I'll be on around trying to convince anybody that this works. The thing about it is, as you know yourself, one of those sessions that you're going through, and it's always different for everybody. It could be the 4th one for somebody, it could be the 4th or 5th session for somebody, where all of a sudden there's a massive shift in you, where all of a sudden you become conscious of yourself, and it's kind of like you came out with that really low vibration. It's usually one that has the massive impact on you, right? But like, you view life completely differently because obviously your perceptions have changed dramatically, and then your vibrations shoot straight up, right? But this is something it's observed by subconscious. Obviously, we're trying to be more conscious, but through doing this work, right? Which brings out then your authentic self and your true self. And like the only thing that can observe this, like I know you can see it in other people because you're already up there, is the person that's going through it.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
because I do have lots of people come to see me through and saying, my mom was saying to me, or my dad was saying to me, like, I don't know what it is you're doing, or that voodoo stuff you're doing, but it's working.
Yeah.
You know, like, but they can't explain to the parents how it's working.
No.
It's very difficult to explain how it works, but it just works in the background, right? And all it is, and it's mad, like, when you break it all this down, like the universe in itself is, because we are a walking universe, you know, like, or multiverses, whatever you want to call it. But the thing about it is, it's when people are saying like, all the shit that is changing you and like how you achieve and all this kind of stuff, and they don't really know. It's just that we're bringing ourselves back to our authentic selves. We're doing away with the trauma, and the thing is, it's giving space for that conscious to come out, the true part of yourself, that's full of like your pre-programmed when you get here morals, values, and beliefs, as opposed to those learned ones that we have. Do you know what I mean? But the thing about it is that the shift is massive. And it's such a short period of time that I suppose actually, you think about it, it is unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? Like if somebody had came to me years ago, like, I know I told you the story, like I was forced into doing this, and I was really resentful about being pushed into doing this, you know, because I was raised in a household where it's rubbish, and it's a money making scam and gimmick and blah blah blah, right? But because I was forced into doing it, now which one went against my morals, because I was obviously been raised in a way that I would have been a learned moral, that, or a belief that this is completely wrong. I'm going to go in here now, what's going to happen, but I only done it to appease an ex-partner of mine, and like, don't get me wrong, I would never look back, and which is a thank her to this day that she did fortunately go and see the person I went to see, and but like, even my family now would be obviously completely opposed to this, and then if like, I wouldn't be, they wouldn't say anything to me about it, but they would throw and say that there has been a massive shift or a massive change in you, but you can go away and bang that drum there and do whatever it is. It appears to be working for you. But the great thing about this is, like, so say for instance when you come in for a session, it's not like I'm sitting here saying, right, this is the way everything works, and you have to follow this, and you need to do this, you need to be doing that. It's none of that stuff. It's just kind of like, well, what's going on with you this week, and then you talk about what's going on with you this week, and then from, say, the shamanic point of view, then all of the answers for you then comes in if you have any questions, or if you're saying, say for instance, like, well, this happened to me this week, but where you would see it from at the start of your sessions, it might appear like it's a negative thing, where I'd be looking at the world saying that was a massive opportunity to see this from this point of view, or that was a test and you could have utilised that test to achieve this, or overcome this fear, or there's always something there. But then obviously then as you go through your sessions, because I will teach you the basics about how energy operates, and say the laws of the universe and karma, but that's it. But the rest of it, when you become conscious, you can see everything in front of you. Like, all the answers are right there, and all the answers to all your questions are just all laying inside, and they come to you like that, one after the other. All the, not for all your whatever life has to throw at you. You know what I mean? Like, all the answers are just there. So it's difficult to try to tell people how it actually operates, but like, going through the experience, it just comes to you. Just everything falls into place without having to be taught. You don't have to go away and read books or watch anything. It's right there. Like,
Couple of bats a week.
Couple of bats. That's it.
To watch it all off.
To watch it all
That's all you recommend, is a couple of salted bats. Which I'm still doing. I did stop them for a while, but then I went, just keep doing them. Like, you know what I mean?
They're amazing.
If you're having like two or three bats a week, you do feel amazing anyway. People go, I'm too busy to have a bat, or I don't have a bat, I've only a shower, or have a bat. What does it do to you, bat?
Well, the bat, so essentially what happens is, so when you come to a session then, and you have your 7-day process, and through that 7-day process then, right, because there's a massive energy shift going on then, right, so it's not just on a physical plane then, right, so obviously your physical body is changing, because trapped energies, they get trapped in the likes of meridian lines and chakra points and all that kind of stuff, they all start to begin to flow again, right, so automatically there's a change in vibration, and then because then you're working on the mental body as well, the ego doesn't have to be as defensive as it is, so that starts to drop, because the ego is just another energy. So that starts to drop itself, then you become more conscious of yourself. Then when it comes to the brain, then neuropaths then start realising, well, I don't need to do this anymore this way. I don't have to be this defensive anymore. I can actually start explaining myself and be in a safe space, and even if I'm not, it doesn't matter. But I can express myself and start speaking the truth, because this is who I am. And then neuropaths start forward in different directions, where it just starts to become then a natural thing. But while those shifts are going on through the 7-day process, you can be very emotional. And the thing about it is, the bat then is to, so a Himalayan salt bath or a sea salt bath absorbs that energy, and then has you feeling brand new then. it grounds you again, keeps you focused.
Okay.
And then, as you know, then I'm going to tell you some weeks just take a bath, or some weeks take 2 baths, or some weeks take 3 baths, whatever the case would be. Right?
Yes, yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
And grounding yourself, then you can get out onto
And that's it, yeah, 100%.
which a lot of people are doing now, aren't they?
A lot of people
They're
are
connecting
doing
with the grass.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
So, right.
It's good.
It's brilliant. So, right, so what we're going to tell the listeners then is, so Mark has decided now that obviously after going through the process himself, he wants to go out now and he wants to get involved in this work. So the two of us are setting up, well, this is going to be our first of many podcasts where we're going to be inviting people on. We're going to have guests and hopefully guests that have used other modalities and are engaged in this work as well.
Yeah.
And we want to spread out as much information as we possibly can, especially if we're going to be focusing a lot on men.
Yes.
And men's mental health, because we think that men are struggling at the moment. And it's not that we think, it's we know that men are struggling at the moment and they don't particularly have anywhere to go around that. So we're really reaching out to males out there that are in trauma who are looking to go down this path. And Mark's going to engage in the work as well. He's going to do the training course. He's going to become a master at the vibes theory, and then we're going to work together then, and we'll be hoping doing these once a week and invite people on and try to spread as much information as we possibly can out there. So so it was great to have you on, Mark.
Thanks, I'm looking forward to our new journey.
And look forward to interacting with the audience. And if you would like to get in touch with me until we have a page, you can contact me on my Instagram page, which is Patrick O'Brien Shamanic Healer. And if you have any questions for me or Mark, you can throw them up on that or DM me, and we'll get straight back to you and we'll get things set up from there. Alright.
Thank you very much.
Happy days. Thanks a lot, Mark.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thanks a lot. Bye.